On today's episode of Flashback Friday in Elvis history, I take you back to September the 12th, 1960. 65 years ago today, Elvis Presley's in Hollywood, California with his co-star Juliet Prowse of GI Blues, and they're having a buffet dinner and a private screening of their new movie GI Blues for executives and distributors and important people that need to see this film to get it in theaters. We're going to talk a little bit about that history, some GI Blues history. I also got an interview with Juliet that you might enjoy. So let's get to the show. So here is a scene at the end of GI Blues. Elvis is going to kiss his girl. Then he looks at the camera and he says,
"Did you ever?"
That's Elvis and Juliet Prowse, GI Blues. So 65 years ago today, September the 12th, 1960. Here's a photo with Elvis and Juliet at a buffet dinner at Paramount Studios where they made GI Blues. They had a buffet dinner in the Paramount Studios commissary where actors ate at, and they turned this room that I'm showing you right on screen into a Cafe Europe, kind of like, I guess, a designed after the GI Blues movie where it was set at. And that's pretty cool to know that Elvis and Juliet Prowse was here that night 65 years ago. And they had a private screening for GI Blues for distributors and executives and movie theater owners to get some interest to sell the movie to these theaters. That's how they had to do things back then. And of course, they had Elvis and Juliet there that night to build excitement for this evening and this private screening. So I'm sure that they sold that movie to everyone with Elvis and Juliet there to take photos and talk to and sign autographs. So I have a cool interview with her that she talks about Elvis and her experiences on GI Blues. So check this out.
They said that they were loaning me out to Paramount to do GI Blues with Elvis Presley, and I just balked at the idea. I went, "Oh, Elvis Presley." I thought, "Oh, Mike, he's a delinquent." That was my impression. I never had a better experience in my life in making a movie as I did on that movie. He was an absolute delight to work with. It was his first movie. He had been in the service in Germany for a couple of years, and it was his first movie.
Let me ask you this question. Okay?
I never met him.
You did? We talked with Red and Sonny West, who were his friends and bodyguards, and he said that Elvis got romantically inclined with every leading lady that he ever played with.
Sure.
Did you, were you in, Elvis?
Was I there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. We had a romance going.
Yeah?
And we were two young kids. We both had the hots for each other. Hey, it was...
Stop beating around the bush. Come to the point.
It was neat. He just come back from the armed services. It was good for him.
I love it. Isn't that terrific?
When I see it now, when I look at the movie, I just cringe because I was so bad. I mean, my acting was big enough for the Madison Square Garden. You know, I knew nothing about movie technique. I had done theater. And not only had I only done theater, I'd only danced in theater and sold those numbers, you know. And now all of a sudden I was doing the same thing on the screen. It was just, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's hysterical. Every time I see it, I just fall apart. I think it was because I was very hot at that particular time. I really was hot. I was Sinatra's new girlfriend. I was the only thing in Can that had gotten any decent reviews. I was being asked to do specials and TV shows, and my name was in every newspaper and every magazine all the time. And I think it was because of that they realized that they had a hot property. And who better than to put with Presley in his first film, his comeback from being in the service. As it turned out, it was so good that they wanted me to do his second movie, which was a movie called Blue Hawaii. And I was thrilled to do it. And I went to Paramount Studios, and in this one I was going to be half Hawaiian. So they put the dark wig on me and the dark makeup and the sarong, and I did they did testing to make sure that the color and the hair and everything was right, and they were making the costumes for me. Edith Head was making them, and I had no script. And I said, when am I getting a script? When am I getting a script? Well, eventually I got the script, and I read it, and I said to 20th Century Fox, I said, I'm not going to do this movie. And they said, why? You have to do it. I said, I'm not going to do this movie. I said, the role is inferior to the GI Blues role. And they said, you have to do it or you go on suspension. And I said, well, I'll go on suspension, which I did. I didn't do the role. In fact, I don't remember who did the role. And I went on suspension. Now, being on suspension means that you cannot work anywhere. No matter what work you're offered, you cannot work. And I was on suspension 7 weeks at 20th Century Fox, and I had $100 left in the bank.
So you just heard that she said that it was hard for her to watch GI Blues because her acting was terrible in it. She was a young actress, one of her first scenes or one of her first movie roles, and she says she just wasn't very good. But nonetheless, GI Blues is a famous movie of Elvis Presley's. It's the first movie back after the Army stint, and it was the first time Elvis really had changed his persona. Before GI Blues, it was Jailhouse Rock, and it was King Creole, that rebel image. And now they had changed Elvis into the Army older man type image, I believe, and that's what he would stay throughout the 60s. But also Elvis, well, he received a pay raise. Elvis made $200,000 for GI Blues. It was a new contract. Not only that, he received percentage points on how much money the movie made, and the movie ended up making about $4.3 million. So Elvis had a nice payday in 1960 for GI Blues. Here is a scene from in the movie, Elvis dancing with the American flag up behind him. Wonder what Elvis would think about America these days. Anyway, yeah, look how cool this is. All those extras are probably having the time of their life that day on this set. Here is a cool photo of Elvis and Juliet that night there at the buffet dinner at the Paramount Commissary. And Elvis, of course, knew this, but Juliet was dating. Her boyfriend was Frank Sinatra, Blue Eyes himself. Funny story I learned, and I'm not sure from Charlie Hodge, but it was in one of those books. They would play practical jokes on Elvis on set. And one of those was Elvis was in his dressing room with Juliet studying lines, And they ran up to the door and knocked on the door and said, Elvis, Elvis, Frank is coming, Frank is coming. And Elvis and Juliet, came out the room, stuff like that. Well, they did this again a few days later, and Frank really was there. And Elvis was like, guys, man, leave me alone with that crap, something like that. And Frank Sinatra walks in, and Elvis is in there studying lines, actually, with Juliet. And so I wonder what old Frank was thinking with his girl on the set with the icon of all icons during this time, Elvis Presley. I mean, Frank Sinatra was huge, but Frank was not Elvis, no doubt about it. So here's a photo of Juliet leaving that night, talking to Elvis, and look at that, I think a Rolls Royce right there in front of us. Was that his? I don't know. Leave me in the comments. I don't know if it was or not. Maybe a fan knows out there. It's a ULL 501 license plate, and it's black. I mean, is that the one that's at Graceland today on display? Here's another photo of Elvis and Juliet on the set in their dressing room, and I already told you the story about she would hang out in the dressing room with Elvis, and of course she even mentioned in that interview that her and Elvis had a romantic relationship. Elvis had a romantic relationship with most of his co-stars, and that's usually what happens on these sets. You're with this person for a few months, and the girl's a very beautiful girl. He dated him. I mean, I've been on movie sets before. I understand how that can happen, but Elvis and Juliet looked like they were an item for a while, at least while he made GI Blues. And this is what Elvis had to say about her. Juliet is talented, professional, and graceful, and he also said that she was a fine actress and a wonderful dancer. And that's what she was known for, was her dancing. It wasn't acting, but it was dancing that got her into acting, as she explained a little bit earlier. And Juliet, only said positive stuff about Elvis, said he was a great guy, but very set in his ways. So I imagine that's why they didn't last too long. But it was kind of fascinating to learn that Juliet was up to play the girl in Blue Hawaii and turned it down. Kind of got blackballed because of it. So guys, that is today, 65 years ago in Elvis Presley history. He's in Hollywood, California at Paramount Studios at a buffet. probably some good food. And they met a lot of distributors and movie executives and movie theater owners to sell GI Blues to get it into theaters. So guys, hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, I'll see you down the road. Thanks for watching.